So the other day I was thinking about aliens and Star Wars and ones that I would like to see return.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me think about the Cassian Andor show that's coming up.
Yeah.
And I got really excited for the possibility, the plausibility of Pow making a return.
Oh, I thought you were
Star
going to go
Wars.
two tubes.
No, Two Tubes wouldn't. Maybe, but Two Tubes makes less sense. But Pow is the character that
It's
I
something
think.
they should definitely explore, right? Because, like, obviously, casting is probably going to show a lot of Rebel Alliance stuff or early Rebel Alliance stuff. So we could get Pow, we could get. Oh,
Biston.
God, what was Space Monkey?
Biston.
Biston, thank you. I was like, Bastion. I'm like, that's not it. So we can see more of that. Do you think they're going to bring back the cast of the Rebels that were in the movie? Like, the blue leader guy and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would be, that is a hashtag missed opportunity if you don't bring Blue Leader. Now, on what capacity, I don't know, because Cassian Andor was an X-Wing pilot, so he shouldn't be a main player on the show.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, how do you have a show where he doesn't pop up every once in a while? And if Mon Mothma is going to make an appearance, which on some level you'd think that she'd have to appear at some point, right?
Yeah.
Now, the only reason why none of these characters could appear is because we don't know the time period of this. Is it 10 years, 20 years? We don't know. We know that K2SO is going to be on it, but we don't know when K2SO and Cassian meet. We don't know. K2SO might be an Imperial droid at this point in time, when this show starts. For the whole show, for the whole series, K2SO could be an Imperial droid.
Yeah. They did a one-shot of Cassian and K2SO and Marvel Comics. So, I mean, nothing really happens besides how they meet. But it'd be nice if they keep something with that and just maybe build on it. But yeah, like, it's really unknown. Are we getting any Cassian Andor news? What's happening?
We haven't. Nothing has been spoken about right now. For everybody watching, Brock is frozen on my screen.
Great.
Like this. Yeah, you look like something that's coming up in your news story later on, a nice pixel version of yourself. We haven't heard anything. This is the Rebel Scum podcast. I'm James, and the unfrozen guy now is
Brock.
Yeah, that's Brock. We're here. We're gonna talk Star Wars with you. We got a lot coming up today. We got a jam-packed show. Brock, do we have a jam-packed show or what?
Yeah. Peanut butter and jam. Oh,
So your enthusiasm for peanut butter sandwiches. Where are we? Episode 126. I can't believe it's been that long. We're coming up on 3 years. Did you realize that? 3 years of this thing.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
That's insane.
I couldn't believe we did it for 3 months. Now we're on 3 years. So good on us, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, just want to tell everybody thanks for joining us right now. Give us a like and a subscribe on the channel. It helps us out. We're going to do a lot of content whether you do it or not. But if you help us out, that helps us out. And then maybe we could be awesome and Brock won't freeze at the beginning of the show next week.
Maybe.
Can't promise that will happen. It might. Also got to remind everybody, every Monday we do live streams, 7 p.m. So get on those things. Because they're fun to hear what you guys have to say in the comments below. There's a lot of comments on those ones there. Anyway, let's get right into the show. You ready to get right into the show?
Do you know it?
Oh, he knows it. My rabbit is fighting my foot right now. Here's what's happening in Star Wars. Nothing was announced this week. Have a good night, everybody.
What?
Disney released their slate of films for the next 300 years, and on there, we saw that there would be a rest, a Star Wars break, as Bob Iger said there would be, and we won't be getting any Star Wars until the year 2022, and then that will be followed by another untitled Star Wars film in 2024, and the final in what could be a trilogy, or the first half of what could be a sixography, or the first third of a nineography, could be Star Wars in 2026, untitled Star Wars. Brock, where were you and what were your thoughts when you heard this wonderful news?
I was like, Yeah, that sounds right. I mean, they probably should take a break, like they are even talking about. And every 2 years is perfection. As much as we do a podcast and we want as much Star Wars content as possible so we can continue to do this, 2 years is perfection. As much as it's fun to see a new Star Wars movies every Christmas, like the Star Wars used to be a thing, an event, and it still is, where you would wait a couple of years. What was it, like 2 to 3 years between prequel movies, and then 20 between Jedi and Phantom Menace? It's nice to have that break because Marvel's kind of in that situation right now where it's like it's too many movies, but they're making it work. So why try to copy that? Let's try to avoid that a little bit. Star Wars is a different beast. But you know, I'm excited for it. That's great.
Yeah, I've been saying since before we started this podcast to you, I said, when am I going to get sick of Star Wars?
Exactly.
And look, we can all argue, yeah, you love Star Wars, but eventually it will stop being this special thing that we all bond over, and it'll just be, we're going to go watch Star Wars because it's everywhere.
And you can't forget that, like, there's going to be TV shows coming out for Disney Plus, and the cartoon's going to continue. They're going to come back with Clone Wars. There's more than enough content, video-wise, without even adding anything they put on YouTube or comics or books. Like, we've got enough Star Wars coming our way.
Exactly. And look, I've said this enough, but Star Wars is an event film. When you put it in this big screen, it's got to be an event. It's got to be Avengers Endgame was an event film. It's got to be that one where the directors could come out and say, don't spoil this until we tell you not to spoil it. And I brought this up too. I love Solo.
Yeah.
Like, I love Solo, right? I mean, anyway, I love Solo.
Good Lord.
But wait. I love
Those
Solo.
are all Solo things.
Yeah, they're all
pretty hilarious.
I know, they're all just here, and I have two posters you guys can't see. There's Han, I got this, and Enfys Nest. Anyway, we won't go into that. But look, I love Solo, but Solo was not an event film, and it was never going to be an event film. And Solo, we talked about this, made Ant-Man money, and Ant-Man wasn't an event film, but Ant-Man leads to something greater. Han Solo was never leading to. I mean, it ended up leading to something that I think we could all agree would be pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there was no promise of that when we went to go see Solo. That's just a bonus we got when we watched it. And so I think it'll be smart. This is smart on Star Wars. Remind everybody that this is a once in an every 2 year film event. Get your friends to, we all went as a big group, like 10 of us, we would get together and we would go see Star Wars. Could we sustain that every year for the foreseeable future? I don't think so.
No, I don't even want to do that anymore.
It was like, it's tough to get everyone together every year, and then the excitement builds every year, and then like you always say, there's going to be a movie that eventually people don't like, and when that starts to happen, the excitement for the next one dwindles.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm all for it. I hope they take this time to really think it out. I'm not going to say like they are going to have. They're gonna come up with an idea and it's gonna be amazing. It is what it is. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But like, take this time to figure it out, because Star Wars is in no place to be losing money right now. So there's no rush to get things out. I was just thinking about it recently. Maybe it was because they announced the Rebel Reborn, Resistance Reborn, and it's just like there's so many things. I almost got to a point where like, it'd be awesome if I bought all of the books, but like some of them are just like sticker books. But it's just like there's just something. There's the merchandise alone on these things. It's just insane how much things come out. So there's no rush, because there's never going to be a drought of Star Wars, in my opinion. I mean, I eat, sleep, and breathe Star Wars every day, so I'm not the best to judge. I don't know, but I think 2 years is a good move, and whatever. I'm
curious to see how these, the Mandalorian and Cassian Andor play out. That's what I'm really curious to see. Like, I'm sure they're great. I'm sure, Cassian Andor, we have no idea. But what if they're not well received? What if the Mandalorian comes and everyone's just like, Not my thing. Look. We can all say, "Oh, but it looks like the original Star Wars, and they care about it and they love it." That's fine, and we might love it. But what if the mass amount of people don't love it like we do? They don't love it like Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I mean, you're never gonna win. Like Game of Thrones, perfect example. Everyone excited about the Battle of Winterfell, and it was a good episode. Was it the best? No, but like that's my opinion. And there's a lot of people like I loved it. And I'm like, great. That's this show is going for a visceral effect on the viewer. So that happening to a Star Wars fan is the exact point. Here's a question to you: do you think the movies will come out at the same time every year, every 2 years? Do you think they'll keep the Christmas time?
They're scheduled for Christmas for December.
Is that Christmas? I didn't read that part.
I think it's like this December 16th or 17th, 20th, and like 22nd. Yeah, they're all at the same. They're all at the same time. Yeah.
I think that is a home run move.
Yeah.
To be able to see it during the holidays or just in that Christmas season or what a holiday season, whatever you want to call it. That sounds great.
Summer is so crowded that even the Avengers were like, we're going to move to April. Like, even they were like, okay, this is kind of stupid. We want our cake. And they moved out of there. So I'm excited. Disney will not announce what these 3 movies are at all to anybody. They won't say anything about them except they're untitled Star Wars films, which I'm totally with you on I hope that whatever it is gets planned out. And the thing is, and then with thinking that, okay, they're going to give them time to develop these movies. But they have the Game of Thrones, Benioff and Weiss, and they have Rian Johnson, supposed trilogies coming. Benioff and Weiss said they won't start until Game of Thrones Season 8 has concluded, which it's concluding now.
In the next, month and a half or so.
So they've probably wrapped it all up. If there's anything left, it's just they have to... the press tours and stuff. It's probably, that's it. So they're probably thinking about Star Wars. Or maybe they want a little bit of a break before they go into it. Then you have Rian Johnson, who has his little film Knives Out coming out. And he said at a CinemaCon that he said after that's done, he'll be going back to a galaxy far, far away. Mm-hmm. Today, I saw through the Twitterverse, so I checked it out on the John Campea show on the YouTubes. He said that he heard from a source that they haven't even thought of the Rian Johnson trilogy over at Disney. Mm-hmm. But if you watch the video, it sounds like there's a lot of conflicting messages through people in the know. So I'm not writing that one off yet. Which trilogy do you think is more realistic, or are we going to get one of their films in 2022 and then the opposite one in 2024, and then they're going to rotate that way?
I like that because that's that's fun. I feel like maybe that would be confusing to some viewers, but they've already released movies that are already out of sync with chronological. So many people went into Rogue One thinking it was the episode 8. They were thinking it was the last what would be the Last Jedi. It's like, oh, where's those characters? That doesn't happen right now.
Oh yeah.
So Rogue One was a success. So there's no reason they couldn't do that. I think it's just confusing, but maybe somehow it all kind of fits together, or at least it eliminates that oversaturation where here's a Star Wars movie, it's about this. Then 2 years later, here's another Star Wars movie, it's about this. And then 4 years later, you're like, oh, here's the sequel to that first movie. Oh, cool, yeah. But we all know Star Wars, it might all link in some way. That would be fun. But I think they do need to compartmentalize these movies. One of my issues with the new trilogy is we're not focusing on one group of characters. There's here's the old characters, here's the new characters, and we're trying to put them together. I don't know if it exactly works, or at least the development isn't happening. So let's just create a pocket universe of Star Wars, and if it's a trilogy, great. If it's not, whatever, and then focus on that. But it's Star Wars; they do whatever they want, and we eat it all up.
I think that was the first mistake Disney made with Star Wars was comparing it to the MCU. And I said this on the live stream. Star Wars is not the MCU. It's Star Wars. And I think it's closer to Lord of the Rings than it is to any of the Marvel movies. It's like I said, these event films that are all about one thing. Whereas you can argue now when it ended, it was always about Thanos, but it was never about that until like 5 years into it. Iron Man 1 has nothing to do with Endgame. I'm sure they tied it, but you know what I mean? Like, it has nothing to do with it. But Marvel allows itself for that because it's about these individual characters, where Star Wars has been about good versus evil, as you like to say, right? Yeah. So they're completely different. I think that was their first mistake. Was they're like, well, we'll have this saga, but then we'll have all these other films that are going. It's like, no, you're missing the point. You're missing the point of it. And I hope this gives them that opportunity to reestablish it. And before whoever gets this next trilogy or saga or whatever it is, they have an opportunity to everybody, the story group, everybody at Lucasfilm sits down and says, the question I've been asking for 3 years now, what is Star Wars? Because now, we're going to talk about this in a second, but now you got the whole Skywalker thing is, you push that aside. That's out. So what is Star Wars? And I don't want Benioff and Weiss to be like, oh, Star Wars is about backflips and lightsabers, and Rian Johnson is it's about thinking and intellectualness and blah blah. And I don't want that. I want they could be different, genre technically, but live in the same universe is what I want, and I want them to know what that universe is before they go to that sandbox.
Yeah. I feel like it's hard to answer that question of what Star Wars is exactly. It's in a galaxy far, far away, and that's it.
Well, everyone has an opinion on it, has their own interpretation of what it is.
So it's just like, I mean, do we need Jedis? It's fun, but I don't want to say we've made one without a Jedi, because or I guess they're Sith, but Vader's in Rogue One and Maul's in Solo. They're not the main focus, but they're in it. So it's like, can we pull it off? I mean, I'm sure there's a million people that are like, oh, this doesn't have Jedi and this doesn't. But you know what I mean? That just to have a movie there where it doesn't have. I think they can do it. I don't know. We'll see.
I just think have your world written. If the Old Republic exists and whatever they're doing, it doesn't have to be mentioned or shown, but know that that's there. Know that this is there, and know that that's there, and know that this is where you're playing. What part of this playground are you in today? Tomorrow go on that one. And that's how this can all connect. It doesn't need to connect with this character, that character, that character. It connects with points of where it is. And I thought it would be a cool idea if one of these, if they do these two trilogies, let's say, for argument's sake, one of them is 200 years from now, another one's 1,000 years from now, or 1,000 years before, and they don't connect at all. But then there's one singular moment at the end of one of them, or in the middle of one of them, where you realize that the events of the one are actually affecting what you're watching. But if you haven't seen it, it's still that story is still singular. I think stuff like that is that's what Star Wars is mostly. I think. I don't really know, because we haven't gone farther than Luke Skywalker, really.
I think you slap that Star Wars logo on anything, and you're kind of doomed to being a secular logic problem where it's just like, oh, it's Star Wars. It's this. It's someone watches it and says it's this, and this, and the next person says it's this, and this. And it's like, just make your movie. It doesn't matter. I think if they were to explore the mysticism of the Force, they could find a way to find some kind of thing. Because the Force, even though again, Jedi and Sith, but there's just sort of it's causing things to happen in the galaxy. It's kind of like when you watch a Star Trek movie and they talk about a planet that they don't want to interfere, because if you interfere in a slightly less advanced society, it affects how they need to evolve properly, right? So if you show up and show, look at this cool spaceship I have, it's we're still using horses and buggy. You mess with it. So I think the Force, it's literally a force. I think people are unaware of it, and people like the Jedi are tuned to it. So perhaps they can investigate that. How does the Force affect different societies, different planets? And then we can get an answer. But do we need an answer? It would be nice, but
I don't think we need an answer. I think the people telling the stories need an answer. I like that idea where how the Force affects certain cool. Let's do it, right? Like, but I think I kind of feel like they look at this sequel trilogy, they look at Solo, and they say, Jedi, Sith, that's our bread and butter. Let's go to it. And I kind of feel like whatever comes next, and this is why I think it's going to be that Benioff and Weiss one first, is because I think they're going to deal with Jedi and Sith, or just Jedi. You know, they'll deal with something with lightsabers, is what I'm saying. And I think that's what Disney really wants, because, I mean, when you go to Galaxy's Edge, they want you to build your own lightsaber there. So they're going to want lightsabers to be prominent in these new films. And I mean, look, I don't know what Rian Johnson's idea was at all, so I can't comment to that, but that's where my thinking is today.
Yeah. I think there is a preoccupation with what the Force means, so I could see that being a thing, and then the easiest way to do that is with a Jedi. But, you know, I don't know. I mean, I just finished reading the current Dr. Aphra book, and there's one part where she kind of sacrifices it, and that's kind of sacrifices herself, or she gets in the way of a blaster bolt, and she doesn't have to. So, like, there's a narration where it's sort of like, the only good thing she's ever done in the last, 48 hours is jump in front of this blaster bolt. Otherwise, she's just a scoundrel. She'll do whatever it takes to get ahead. So it's sort of like, I think at the core is sort of, well, I mean, that's just normal storytelling. You want the good guy, you want the bad guy. It's the easiest thing to do. So I don't know, but I feel like maybe there is a push to do that. I don't know. And that the concept of good and bad are really thinly separated. You know, like you get when you read like Master and Apprentice, where it's like, I haven't finished it, but it talks a lot about how Dooku was like, oh, I was a good guy, now he's a bad guy. But like, you're starting to see the side. He's not just like a villain anymore. He kind of has a reason for leaving, and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon tend to show some relevance to that as well. But anyway, so
spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers.
I didn't know Dooku turned. I haven't seen the prequels. I haven't at all. Star Wars Celebration 2020 is kind of exciting because I feel like that's when we're going to first learn. We're going to learn a lot about what's going on at 2020. I mean, 2021 or 22 when they have those ones, you know, and those trailers drop for the first time. That's going to be something else. But for now, 2020, I think we're going to learn some stuff. We did a poll on Twitter. Speaking of my love for Solo. And it was of the following, Brock, I want to know what your opinion is on this one. Of the following, which series would you want on Disney Plus? So there's only 4 options. A Maul and Kira series, an Enfys Nest and her gang series, Solo and Chewie, or Beckett and his gang prequel series.
Solo and Chewie, that's the easiest answer. Funny you mentioned Enfys Nest. I kind of thought about when we were talking about Cassian. You could throw her in there. I know she's kind of later, like.
No, she's not.
It's kind of it's
Solo's
pretty
before.
close together.
No, Solo's like 10 years before Rogue One.
No.
Yeah.
Because the Empire is in full swing.
It's like.
Oh wait, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Sorry, I had it the other way around. Because then, Rogue One's before New Hope.
Yeah.
And Solo's there. Yeah, so you could, I think you can put her in, that would be fun, and I think that's nice. I think that's a nice little slice, because, Cassian Andor's whole show could just focus around the beginning of the rebellion, the Enfys Nest and her gang, and, the partisans on Jeddah, you can bang, 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 all in there, so let's do it. But yeah,
I'm all in.
Chewbacca and Solo.
Chewbacca.
Easy answer.
Easy answer. Okay, I'm going to read you the finals. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Beckett and the Gang prequel got 7%, which I'm not going to lie was actually higher than I expected. It was. Coming in at 3rd place, so now we have our top 3, was Enfys Nest and her gang. I don't think there's a surprise well, there might be, but in the order, there's not too much of a surprise. Number 2, the Solo and Chewie show. I will say I watched Solo quite a bit, and oh man, more Solo and Chewie would be great because their chemistry is phenomenal. And number one, Maul and Kira. And I think if you're gonna put a show on, I think that one will give you the most, with the exception of the fact that we know how Maul goes out. That could give you the most exciting plot lines and episodes. I think like Chewie and Solo would be phenomenal. It'd be a lot of fun, but I think Maul and Kira, there'd be high stakes. You can go dark if you wanted to. And with Kira, you don't know where she ends up. I like the idea that at some point she takes over Crimson Dawn and becomes the leader of it all. And she maybe she learns how to wield the Force. I don't know. She maybe learns how to use a lightsaber like Grievous.
Yeah, maybe. It's so hard. That question's sort of hard to like, because it's like, Kira and Maul are in the same period as like a young Han Solo, Chewbacca sort of thing. But I think it's probably one of the things people want to know about after watching Solo. It's like, oh, what happens next with Maul? Like, this is awesome. This is fantastic. And then you got Emilia Clarke as Kira. She's coming off the hottest show on TV right now because Game of Thrones is coming to an end. So you put her in something, people are gonna watch. It's just how it works, like, or at least how marketing and movie works. They'll just be like, I want all of these people, and it's the people from like a show on HBO that did well, and let's just, it's how you get a Joey show. You get Joey because, people love Friends, so maybe if only one of them is on a TV show, it'll be just as good. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know, but we'll see.
Fair point. I could imagine Joey, but it's just Chewie. And oh my God, that's a holiday special.
Chewie.
They just make the holiday special. Chewie, that name not gonna work. Chewbacca, Chewie and Han. By the way, if you haven't had a chance to check out this book,
it
is.
That thing looks awesome.
It is gorgeous. I'm gonna do a high ground on it. When I finished it, but it is just, there's Bryce Dallas Howard. I just opened it up and she's on set. Ron Howard directing. There's a forward by Ron Howard, which is pretty cool. He talks about, I'll just say that, he talks about coming in like late in the process, and he's like, it's weird. He goes, but he decided to keep all the heads of departments on so that there'd be continuity still and stuff. So it's definitely cool. Check it out. Our next topic, this is one that you kind of sparked, Brock, from either 124 or 125. I'm not actually sure which one, but we were talking about Palpatine's return, and you said, but that's great. There's the old character, and you kind of mentioned it today as well. There's old characters coming back and new characters introduced, but what about the characters that we were introduced to in The Force Awakens that we are supposed to love and care about? They need to have their arcs set in. And I was thinking about that a lot, because you're right. Obviously, you're right. Like, when we were first introduced to Finn, and then Rey, and eventually Poe and BB-8, we all were so intrigued by who they were. We wanted to know. Remember, we were like, what are their last names? Oh, it's Kylo Ren. What's a Kylo Ren? Why is he called Kylo Ren? Is that Han's son? Is it Luke's son? What is it? So we're all trying to figure that out. And then, Last Jedi comes, and we get Luke comes in, and now they're bringing back Sheevy P. And your point was that, exactly what I said, like, well, why are you bringing him back? We have the villains, and we have all these characters. Shouldn't that be it? So what I wanted to know, what I wanted to talk about was that a mistake made with Episode 7? Was it like, instead of completing the story, they kind of decided to start a new story, but they hand tied themselves when they said it was just going to be 3 more.
Yeah. I get it. The first reaction is like, oh, what happened to Luke and Leia and Han? But nobody could foresee that Carrie Fisher would pass away. I think it would be less complex if she was still alive and able to do her part. And I haven't seen Rise of Skywalker, so
it's pretty good.
It might be amazing what they get from the extra footage. So I don't want to say, oh, that's gonna be garbage. It might be friggin' amazing. I was emotionally struck by the hug between Leia and Rey in the trailer. So if that can do something to me, then I'm sure whatever they make is great. But nobody can foresee that an actor's going to pass away. But I've said it before, Harrison Ford doesn't really want to be in this movie. Like Mark Hamill, it's really hard to tell. I'm sure Mark Hamill would ride the Star Wars train as long as he could. I think he gets how it works, and he's Luke. You want to know what happens, but the problem is, these are older actors. They can't do these flips and stuff like that. And like, look at what we see with Rey jumping over a TIE fighter. I know she's not actually doing that. I know it's all CG. I know it's smoke and mirrors. But can you really see Mark Hamill doing something like that? And that's the kind of Jedi you have to create. I think it would have been nicer if everyone wanted him to be that Jedi that was like, oh, here I am. I'm a Jedi Master. And like, these are all the answers you've been searching for. But we didn't get that. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But because we had to spend so much time learning Luke, like if we had learned that in the first one and then slowly got a little bit more through the, okay, fine. But like, I mean, look at Force Awakens. One of our main characters is Poe. He's barely in that movie. He was almost cut out. He almost wasn't in, or whatever it was. Like, it's just, I don't think there was ever a clear decision made on who are we going to push more, these new characters or these old characters. And I think at this point now, we all assume that those actors aren't going to carry on to another movie, which is probably a good decision because you're always handcuffed to bring in these new characters. I would love to see 10 more movies about Finn, but I don't think we can get it because you also got to keep in mind that like these actors don't want to do these characters over and over again. Like, look at Endgame. Half of them are leaving because they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to live in a green screen prison. And unfortunately, that's something you have to deal with in the movie. Meanwhile, we're like, oh, what's Luke's favorite type of Chinese food? We want to know all these things, but we're never going to get those. I mean, not in movies.
We're going to get that in a comic. I guarantee it. I just think that, they announced these new movies and yeah, I think a lot of people's first reactions were what's up with Luke, Han, and Leia. I just, Side Akbar, do you remember what your first reaction was? Like what your first thoughts of this new trilogy were?
In what, like at what point?
Like 2012 when they're like, we're doing episode 7 and Toy Story 3, Michael Arndt's writing it. Like what was your first thought of what this movie was going to be?
I'm like, oh cool. We'll get to see Han and Leia, and they're married and they have kids, and Leia's probably in charge of something, and Han is just flying around the Millennium Falcon, and then like Luke is a Jedi Master and he's reestablished the Jedi Order. That's what I assumed, mostly because of Star Wars Legends. That's where they went, and I mean, even if you don't have those books, you're kind of assuming this is what it's like. We left here. So it makes sense to continue on, or because unfortunately we can't pick up with a young Mark Hamill because 40 years have passed. So
my first reaction was nothing specific. I didn't think about Luke, Han, and Leia. Like I didn't think about what their roles would be in the adventure. I was like, oh, they're coming back, and I was more drawn to who the new characters were going to be, and what, not even the characters. Sorry, like the story. Like what is this going to be about? Because the Return of the Jedi is kind of a definitive ending. I think in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like, Emperor's gone, Vader's gone, we're good. Luke and Leia are brother and sister. They understand it. Perfect. Let's go. Yeah. Move on. So that was more that. So my first reaction, I really didn't have anything specific to it. I just think that when again, without seeing Rise of Skywalker, you kind of look at it and you say, well, had they decided, okay, we're going to do 3 more movies and we're going to have Luke, Han, and Leia in these 3 new movies, and then decide that this was the beginning of the next saga, and so you kind of like go like this. I think that might have been a little bit smarter on their part, because then we would understand, like, okay, well, the old characters need to go away so we could focus on new characters. Then maybe they would have more of the passing of the torch. But instead, we kind of got. I think Force Awakens is a passing of the torch. Yeah, but not Luke. But Luke gets the torch. He gets it at the end, and everybody. everybody argues about Luke. They either love him or they can't stand him. Like there's no in between on Luke in that movie. Yeah. And the problem is the ending of The Force Awakens. For all the optimists out there, they can't feel bad about being optimistic, and nobody should put them down because the movie ends with the heroic shot. I mean, yeah, he questions it. He has that look in his eye, but we're led to believe the entire time that he is this mythological creature.
Yeah. Who's
getting Excalibur back.
Yeah.
And we have to wait 2 years for him just to chuck it over his shoulder and walk away, which, fits the story of The Last Jedi, but you understand how it irks people. It's kind of like you always say, like, he pulled the rug. He's like, I'm going to do everything you don't expect.
Yeah.
Fine, I guess, but, you can't set people up and then throw a pie in their face all the time.
Yeah, because it's like when you think about Force Awakens, Han's in it probably the most, but he's it's kind of ideal how they use him because he's sort of a plot device to get him from here to here to there, which is great. And Leia is kind of the same. She just comes in mid-movie, but the problem is Kylo Ren is Ben Solo, their son. So now all of a sudden we have to what happened? We want it. That's great. But if Kylo Ren was just a villain, that's it, then great. We can just focus on him, and it's now we have to know, what does Leia think? What does Han think? Da-da-da.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
And that's the other problem I find is because you always say, well, why does Rey have to be a Skywalker? And I'm not saying this is not where I'm going with this, but she has to be because this is the Skywalker saga. So because you're calling it the Skywalker saga, we're watching a very close-knit group of the galaxy now, and now you've made it even smaller by calling it that. So that's what people want. They're like Anakin, Luke, Leia, Kylo, Rey. They want that. They want everything to be connected neatly in this way because that's what Star Wars has been. That's where, when we go back to what we talked about before, is exciting to me because now they could be like, okay, not everybody needs to be related anymore. Because, I mean, look, Anakin created C-3PO. The world is very small, but that's what... People are comfortable with that. And I think if they would have been Rise of Skywalker in the first... Again, I'm not saying she is, but if they would have done that, I don't think anybody would have complained. Now, you might argue Luke's a deadbeat father, but then you figure that one out, whatever. Yeah. But you know what I mean? That was the problem is you say, and you've said it before, where you're like, she doesn't have to be a Skywalker. And that's agreed. But, there needs to be a purpose now to tie in to the Skywalker saga.
Yeah, they could have easily just done this, the next generation of heroes, and they could all be somewhat connected, and that would have been fine. It's predictable, but they don't have to make it a reveal. It's Poe is the son of Wedge, and Kylo is Leia and Luke, or Leia and Han, and Rey is Luke's daughter. That is slowly climbing up the ranks of the Jedi Academy, and Finn is, Mace Windu's grandson. They could have done that, and it would have been fine. They do it. Disney does it all the time. I think a lot of their non traditional movies, their TV shows, they do a lot of that where it's I'm the son of blah 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 blah. And I mean, Game of Thrones is completely that. Who's your daddy is basically what that show should be called. So they could have easily made that, and then we could have been fine. But yeah. It's sort of what is the focus? I think that is what's been missing from these sequels. I don't know. I apparently love to hate this movie, so...
No, but the thing is, what's the focus? The thing is, the focus could be... is going to be revealed, and that could have been the focus all along. It might be something that we all sit back and we're like, wow, we missed that one. There was a clear line the whole way through of where we were going, and we were too stubborn and arrogant to see what it was, because it looks like Sheev's is going to be something to do with something. And I don't know what I don't know what it is, and I'm excited to find out. And I think, I agree with what you said about, why they have villains, they have heroes, but when you're wrapping it all up, you got to bring it back to the beginning. You learn this in Scream 3. You got to bring it back to the beginning. He's the one from the beginning. He's if you go back to Scream 3, he's going to reveal that he's Anakin's father, right? Like this is the beginning. This is the third one of a trilogy. So just watch Scream 3 and we'll know what JJ's throwing at us. I think I just unsolved it. Scream 3 viewing party, my place later. Patrick Dempsey, we love you.
Yeah.
I saw that movie in the theater and I said, why?
James, just tell me the odds.
It's time for Never Tell Me the Odds, brought to us by Patreon.
Patreon, hooray.
Do you want me to start the Patreon list first?
Yeah, do it up.
Heidi Fedor, Barry Brophy, Dennis Allen, Christine Allison, Mary, Kristen Athen, Jeff Wilson, Aaron Quinton, Al Schuler, Phil Staniforth,
Heather Long, JRB Nerdcast, Scott D, Jacob Nixon, Andy Higgins, Mason Hop. Please tell us how to pronounce your last name. Matt W, FB, and Den of Nerds. Thank you so much for believing in this project we do on a sometimes weekly basis.
Thank you very much. This time it's 2 this week, I guess, technically. But
I don't count anything outside of this podcast.
nothing. No, I mean, 125 was on Sunday.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We had 2 last week.
Yeah, we did. We got some cool contests for Patreon. Saturday Pass to Star Wars Celebration should be a thing. So last year, May 16th, Wednesday, May 16th, they announced Chicago Celebration Chicago and the dates. So if history repeats itself, May 15th, Wednesday, May 15th could be the day. But that's just an idea. We don't know. So whatever day they announce it, that's when we'll start the contest. So all Patreons supporters are in that draw for the Saturday ticket. And then we're going to do it's our 3rd year coming up, like we mentioned, and our 3rd year anniversary contest also. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. The first the odds of Poe becoming the leader of the galaxy, or the New Republic, or the Newer Republic, at the end of the Rise of Skywalker.
I think 0%. I just can't see it. I think he will take on a leadership role, but I don't see it being in charge of the galaxy. Perhaps he's like the lead admiral of the Resistance, or the New Republic Army, or the New Republic Army, whatever you want to call it. But no, I just can't. That is wild. I mean, I love Poe Dameron, but no, 0%. I don't think he's gonna be in charge.
I gotta go full Brock. Because look, I'm not joking. Because his arc in The Last Jedi, he kind of learns how to be a leader. We're not gonna have Leia anymore, and Finn. I don't think Finn is gonna be cut out for it. Rose, I don't really know what the hell's up with Rose in this movie, because it seems like she's getting put aside for Jannah. Because if you listen to Finn, John Boyega in Star Wars Celebration talking to some outlets, he said that Finn, Poe, and Jannah go on some adventures together. So Rose, I guess she's not in the picture. So maybe she pulls a page at the beginning of the movie. We don't know. Yeah, there's an odd for another day. That'll really piss a lot of people off and make a lot of people happy all at the same time. but I think it'd be cool to see if he was like, I can step into this leadership role. He also seems like the kind of guy who would be offered it and be like, that's not my place. My place is place is with BB-8 doing races on the Colossus.
Yeah.
And the next odd is what are the odds of Brock reading Resistance Reborn?
I had to look it up. I wasn't aware of this book series. It looks cool. I'm excited. I definitely will read it. So 100%.
100%.
I think if I could find out the price of it all, I would buy all of the books and then review them on the show. So the sticker books, the YA novels.
All right, I'm going 100% as well. And the side Akbar, the odds of Brock weeping while he reads Resistance Reborn.
I mean, look, I'm a 21st century man. I'm attuned with my millennial emotions. Anything is possible, but I don't know. I'm not emotionally charged by it yet, so I'm gonna go 50-50, full Brock. You're welcome.
I'm also going to go 50-50 because I am going to go 75%. Because imagine in like the last book, it takes place after Rise of Skywalker, and Poe just gets obliterated and shit. And you just go, why? That would be amazing. And our final odd this week, the odds of Snoke versus Palpatine in the Rise of Skywalker. This comes to us from Patreon's own Dennis Allen.
I like that, Den. I don't know. I want Snoke in this movie. So I want to go high just for that. Versus each other? Ooh, I don't know.
Hey, Sidious went against Maul.
Yeah, true. True. But we had more backstory, did we not at that point?
Well, it's Clone Wars. Of course there was.
So I'm going to go 75%. Because like I said, I want Snoke in this movie. I just don't see it. That's a weird battle. Like, I guess Ian McDermott's like in his 60s. It's like, but it's the Emperor. So like, it's this troll versus a giant, like a CG giant. It's like, how does that work? But yeah, that'll be sweet. Visually, that be awesome.
I'm going to go really low. I'm going to go 11.7.
11.7.
Yeah, 11.7%. I don't think we're going to get Snoke in the flesh.
No.
I mean, we might not even get CVP in the flesh. Stay tuned for after our top 5 when we have a spoiler. It might not be a spoiler. I don't know. I've stopped caring about spoilers. We're just calling what they are. Possible things that people say that might happen. So if you're worried about it, we'll keep it till the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, 11.7. Sorry, Dan. There's so much going on. You know what I mean? Like you say it all the time. There's so much going on. Where are they going to fit this? Like what?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
what? Like, and if they're fighting, why? Like I have no connection with Snoke and CVP right now.
The solution is simple. You put out Warriors of the Terracotta and you just make them all playable characters. So you can put Snoke versus the Emperor. Boom. You're welcome. I don't want to keep saying you're welcome. Oh, what an odds. What a bunch of odds.
Great
Fantastic.
odds. Let's move over to your favorite part of the show. Hollow News.
This is the sound of my voice. Hollow News. The news you need to know about Star Wars. That's not an alliteration. There's no N-words in there. Ooh, N-words. Anyways, YouTube is brimming over with Star Wars videos. And here's our top picks for this week. Most of you probably already know about this, but you need to see this. Star Wars SC38 reimagined by YouTuber FX It in Post. So fix it in post, FX it in post. They've taken the lightsaber duel between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan. Though it is the very original, it's kind of on our standards today. It's bland. It's nice to. It's fun to watch because you're like, oh, you can see the cable coming out of the end going into his sleeve. But they've taken that and they've gotten two people to lightsaber duel. So with effects, they've added Alec Guinness's face over this person. It is very well done. I mean, for a group of people that I assume are just doing it for the sake of doing it. I mean, it's not movie quality at points, but like it's great. It's really cool to see, and they've mixed it in with clips from New Hope. They've been working on it for about 2 years. We've known about it for a while. There was like teasers out before. This is a full thing mixed together, so go check it out. It's awesome. Check out the FX in Post channel, and also you want to go check out this. It's called Super Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker 16-bit trailer remake on YouTuber John Stratman's channel. It is a 16-bit version of the Rise of Skywalker trailer. Fantastic. If you love Super Nintendo like I do, you will love this. It's just a trailer, but in 16-bit graphics. It's fantastic. So many great things. We've posted it both of these videos on our Rebel Scum podcast Facebook page. So if you couldn't catch what I said, it's there. Check it out. Well worth the wait, or watch rather. Fantastic stuff. I love when fans make stuff. So we are quickly approaching the opening of Galaxy's Edge, and it was not announced, but there was a mention that we talked about this in past episodes. Like, how are they going to make this work with the first month where you have a reservation, but you can only be there for 4 hours? And I was like, that's impossible. Oh, well, proving me wrong. To maintain some order during the first 3 weeks at the 14-acre attraction, Disneyland will require reservations for each visitor to enter the land with colored wristbands used to distinguish which 4-hour time slot they are allowed to be in. Once the time window expires, park employees dressed as Star Wars characters will politely tell parkgoers and they need to leave the land to make way for new visitors. Disneyland says they expect the most guests will abide by the courteous directions to move on, because typically 4 hours is usually enough for some people. Like they said, 4 hours is a long time in the land. Most guests are going to find that they are ready to roll after 4 hours. Now, I mean, I'm a Disney fan, and I could spend an entire day and go to a park over and over again. But perhaps we're putting this to the Galaxy's Edge on a grand scale, like almost to the size of Magic Kingdom, which is very large, depending on which park you go to. Maybe this is closer to a small section. I think it's replacing part of Frontierland in Disneyland. So this is interesting. I'm really impressed that they're going to like find you and say you're done. But I mean, with the color wristband, it's like you can't be green in the orange time slot. So get out. So
you know what? Toy Story Land is not very big. I think this can be bigger than that, but like I could see like Toy Story Land, you could spend a few hours there, but if it's anything like that, a little bit bigger, 4 hours makes sense to me.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm impressed, but it's Disneyland. I'm not. When I really think about it, I'm like, yeah, they do this every day, so this makes sense because it's almost like they're product testing how this park will work.
Yeah. They know what's up.
In our final story. NASA astronaut Nick Hague, who is currently on the International Space Station, honored Peter Mayhew this week when he posted a photo tribute of Peter Mayhew above planet Earth. It was a picture with Peter without the Chewbacca mask on, but he's still wearing the Chewbacca suit. He posted it on one of the windows, and right behind it was Earth. So it was like he posted it as like that, really cool, and he put it on his Instagram, I think. Let's see. Yeah. A brilliant blue Earth shines behind the photo, as do the golden solar rays of a visiting Northrop Grumman Cygnus cargo ship. I'm like, what? So that's really cool that like fans of Chewbacca are even in orbit. But reminder, the memorial service for friends and family, so that's not us, will be held on June 29th. With a memorial for fans early December at EmpireCon Los Angeles. So keep Peter Mayhew and Chewbacca in your heart, and hopefully we'll get to see something along those lines. But yeah, otherwise, this has been your Holo News.
Holo News. Holo News. So that's that. Let's go on to our second favorite topic. Top 5.
Top 5. What's our top 5 today?
Today's top 5 are in memory of Peter Mayhew. We're going to do top 5 Chewbacca moments. I don't know if you did any from the sequel trilogy. I kept mine all to the OT and one PT. Oh. Guess what prequel trilogy moment I picked? The one that he's in. That's going to be my number 5, so I don't have to say it anymore. But I just had to go with that one because we know for sure he was in the suit. Yeah, top 5 Chewie moments in memory of Peter Mayhew, who passed away on April 30th. Yeah. You and I did a live stream on Friday, May 3rd about it, so check that video out if you haven't. Brock, my number 5 is his appearance in Revenge of the Sith.
My number 5 is you're very brave.
So there was like 4 that would have made my list from The Force Awakens. Yeah. Not even a lie. And even him eating a porg would be high on my list. But OT. My number 4, let me pull it up here because I didn't memorize it. When he chokes out Lando. He chokes him up because that's Chewie protecting Han, right? Like that is what Chewie's goal is. He saw you betrayed Han. Now I'm going to rip your throat out. Kind of like MacGruber.
My number 4 is when he touches the Ewok trap of some hanging dead animal in the forest and they get all stuck in the net. Not because it makes him look dumb. It's just sort of funny because it's sort of like you look at him as a person, and he is a person, but it's just like he is kind of a creature and he lives in the woods in Kashyyyk. That's probably similar to Endor. So it's so funny. He's like, oh, what's this meat? Maybe not the best moment because it kind of treats him like an animal, but whatever. I think it's fun.
My number 3 is when he rebuilds C-3PO in Empire Strikes Back. I think I brought that up a few times. Mm-hmm. I like that moment. I like him just kind of and putting together. I do a great Chewie, by the way. And he just kind of puts together C-3PO, and they have the moment. He carries him on his back through like the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
I love that.
My number 3 is Let the Wookiee Win, where he's playing to Jarek with C-3PO and R2-D2, and they're like, well, he's not going to, like, a droid won't pull your arm out of the socket. And he's just like, yep. I think that's the scene, right? Where he goes like this.
Yep. My number 2 is when he hijacks the AT-ST on Endor.
That's my number 2 as well.
He pulls a BB-8. That's what he does. He pulls a BB-8. I love that scene.
Yeah, that's right. I just like when he starts arguing with the Ewoks in the thing. Even though you know what he's like, what are you doing? Get out of here.
It's so good. I love that. And my number 1 is a very simple, very quiet moment. That is in Jabba's palace when Han first kind of is waking up, and his good pal Chewie is in the cell with him.
Oh, that is a great one. That just shows their connection.
It's a great, and it's that is at that point that would be 4 solid movies of Han and Chewie together, and you kind of see that there. So that's my number 1.
My number 1 is so conflicted because that's a good one. I'm gonna have to go with Chewie. We're home.
Yeah.
Boop, boop. I mean, them popping into the Millennium Falcon, returning. It's just like, yeah, let's go on this adventure. We need more. Han and Chewie. Let's go do 3 more of these movies. And it just sort of sells me immediately on those movies.
That was actually my number 1 when I first put the list together, but then I said I'm gonna stick with the original and then sequel and then prequel trilogy. So that's why that didn't make it, because that is that moment. We talked about this, I think, on the live stream. That's the moment. You're like, it's Han talking to our good friend Chewie, and that is comforting to us. So that's a fantastic moment. And they knew it was because they put it in that teaser that is still probably everyone's favorite Star Wars teaser trailer. Mm-hmm. I think Rise of Skywalker is growing on me, though, to be honest. I do very much enjoy it. All right, we got one last thing to talk about. This could be considered a massive spoiler, so if you do not want to hear what may or may not happen in Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, have a good night, everybody. But Brock, you don't really care. And I said this to Fantasia, and he's like, I hate that. So I think we should talk about it a little bit. Do you want to talk about it a bit?
Yeah, apparently, like, Matt Smith is still in this movie, and there's high potential that he is an evil Force user that his body has been taken over by Palpatine. That's pretty much the takeaway from it, correct?
Yeah, and he's an acolyte, which kind of fits in with the Aftermath books where they had the acolyte of the Beyond, which makes me believe it but not believe it. That's like one of those things where, like, well, someone just used that word because it was in the book, or it was in the book because they knew they were going that direction.
I don't hate it because that makes more sense to me than him just being alive somehow after the Death Star. But then again, when I read that, I was like, oh, this just feels like another Horcrux. Like, oh, here's Tom Riddle, the young, he left a young version of himself in a book. So here's a young, or not, I know it's not young Palpatine, but here's a Palpatine in a new body. Like, I don't hate it, but like,
but why
it's
have Ian McDermott like at all if you're just gonna throw him in Matt Smith's body?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I don't know. I think it's just so many people are like Matt Smith as a young Sheev Palpatine in some kind of flashback. I'm like, okay, that I don't hate that idea. So now it's like, oh, Ian McDermott's in it, so he can't be like, oh, I don't know. I think.
If it's a flashback, I'm okay with like when he's young. When you see young CVP, like, you know, there's a lot of talk now. Why didn't the Jedi catch on to him? If you see something like that happen, I'm okay with that. Yeah. But if it's gonna take in modern time and you don't use Ian McDermott, I just don't understand. Like, what's the point? Like, why have him come out on stage at all? If your big tease is he's not in it, just the character he portrayed is in it, played by somebody else. Like, it doesn't jive with me.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just again, and it's also like making Star Wars says this. I'm like, ugh,
Well,
here we go.
I think this came from a Reddit tweet, though, from someone with inside knowledge.
Yeah, of course. They all have inside knowledge.
Well, yeah, everybody on Reddit works at Lucasfilm.
Yeah, everybody out there.
It is. It is plausible at this point in time. Anything is possible to happen. In
Yeah,
the film,
of course. I don't know. I don't hate the idea, but because like the concept of Palpatine putting himself in like something like a droid that shows his like a recording from him. Like I can get behind that. Like it doesn't bother me, but like. And they've always done the concept in the Legends, or he cloned himself. Mm-hmm. Cool, I could get behind it. But again, like we said, it's like there's so many things they have to wrap up. Why add more to it? It just seems silly, but
yeah, we don't know what this movie's about. We don't know how we're gonna get from A to B. Yeah, and we don't know what I think one of the most important details of all is we don't know what's happened between these last two movies. Like there is 2 years, a year, whatever in between these movies, and anything could have happened.
Yeah, anything.
Ugh. Well, we're going to have a lot more of this to talk about because there's 7 months and as of this recording, 11 days, as Mark Hamill tweeted. By the time you guys watch this, will be 7 months and probably 10 days. So,
yeah,
we're going to get there eventually. And then we're going to wait 3 years for another theatrical release of Star Wars.
Hooray!
Yeah. All right. This has been a lot of fun. Brock, I'm going to let you get to work.
Yep.
And I'm going to let you get to work because you were always scum.
Rebel scum.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.